All right, sisters and brothers in Christ, I am coming to you making a short, brief video about hell. I had a dream last night, and I was in a section of hell that I didn't even think existed. It was very unusual experience. I was in a place sitting down with a lot of people, or I was observing, and I noticed that there was a small amount of food. There was an amount of food there, but the people who were sitting in front of the food in hell, they understood that after they ate that particular amount of food, that they would starve throughout eternity. So maybe it was. That was a part of the a torment or something. Like it was like it appeared to be from memory. It appeared to be, help me, Holy Spirit. It appeared to be canned goods or food, and it was sitting in front of them, and it was like it's an okay amount, but they was looking at it, and they knew when they would eat it that that would be the last thing that they would ever eat throughout eternity. That then after they ate that, they would starve throughout all eternity. There was different parts of hell. It looked like there was cars everywhere. There was cars along the there was cars along the let me make sure you guys can hear the volume, so I won't have to do this over. Let me see, is the volume picking up? Yeah. There were cars along the street, it appeared to be, and it looked like it was children and young teenagers and adults in this section in hell. It was children, your little children, adults. Don't do that. I'm making a video.
Sorry, Mommy.
You need to go sit down.
I'm sorry.
Go sit down, please.
Sorry.
There were children and there were young adults, and young teenagers, if I remember correctly, in this portion in hell. And they were just all in groups, and I was walking around with another young lady. We were walking around, and it looked like they were in old shacks or old, help me to remember. Faintly, I remember it might have been old shacks or old homes, very old. And outside, stop being rebellious.
I'm not cooking.
When I ask you to sit down, you need to sit down and stay there.
I will stay there.
Then that means you're not going to get back up. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And so there were houses and groups of people, and the children and the young adults and young teenagers. They were like just in like clutters and groups. They were everywhere. Like if it was like a big gathering or something. And there was no order to this place. Outside, it looked like remember that movie? Was it Constantine? Yeah, I know you guys have seen the movie Constantine, where the debris and the buses and the cars were like literally disintegrating into the air and breaking apart like that. That's how it looked outside. Like everything outside was like a big landfill. It was just ugly, a big landfill, and the debris or whatever the structures were, they were just disintegrating into the air. And I remember seeing a young boy talking to me about a crater or a canyon, and it looks like in this portion of hell, the canyons would shift and when the canyons would shift, he said, "Oh, that's United States." He said, "That's like whatever. That's the deep down under the ground. I guess like when hell shifts." That crater or that particular canyon, when I looked over at it, it was glowing red. And he said, that's the United States. And then also, I understood in the dream that scientists go to hell, a portion to hell, and scientists go down there to mine for gold. This is what I understood in this portion of hell. There was no fire. there was no fire. It was just terrible looking. It was horrible looking. It wasn't beautiful. It was, and the people and the children were just in clutters and just like no order. And I remember seeing a neighbor that I know in my neighborhood. I saw her in hell, this portion of hell. She was in her car, and the car had flames on the side of her car. There were flames, and me and another girl were trying to get out of this portion of hell. We were trying to leave. Now I wasn't in any torment or anything. It was only an observation. And I didn't feel any torment. I felt that they were in torment, but the torment was different. It was, it wasn't fire, brimstone. It was a different kind of torment that I can't explain. None of them was on fire. It just looked like they were deprived. And one guy came out of his house. He couldn't stand being outside. He couldn't stand looking up in the front, in the atmosphere. He came outside and said something to us, and I understood that he was cold, and he was been there, maybe had been there for a while. He spoke really fast and very cold, and his lips were dry and just deprived, and like they, maybe for an example, maybe just thirsty and hungry and just deprived, no peace, no joy, no nothing. It reminded me of that movie Frequency. Remember that horror movie where the people had they had to put up red tapes on the windows and stuff to keep these spirits from. It reminded me of that. The people were just depraved of life. There was no life, no joy, no peace in them. So, for an example, to try to explain how the state of these people and the children that were there, there was portals, and I was trying. It was a gentleman taking me and this young lady to these portals. I remember me trying to drive my car, get my car to one of the portals, them not really wanting me to pointing out my car to me. It's like they didn't want me to leave. They didn't want me to leave, so they were trying to hinder me from leaving. It felt like we were being watched, and we had to hurry up and find the portals without anybody seeing us. One guy took us to a portal that was going to take us to Pennsylvania. The portal, when you would go through this portal, you would end up in Pennsylvania. And we had to kneel down by the portal and just wait for it to take us, but it didn't take us. And so after I remember that happening, and then a group of people came, and it was a girl who had did her hair. She had did her hair very like nice or whatever. She's in hell doing her hair. She did her hair, and I'm like, why am I seeing somebody doing their hair? And everybody was like, oh, it looks nice. It looks nice. The people that were surrounding her, and then I said, it looks nice, and then she turned to me and didn't say thank you. She just turned to me and gave me this look, like, you know, and maybe because they sensed that I had life in me or something. I don't know. But I was meditating on a dream this morning after I had it. I was like, why did that part happen? I said, maybe because they sensed life in me. And she wanted to go do herself up. She wanted to make herself presentable as much as she could in hell, I guess. I don't know. That doesn't make any sense to me. But there was 2 children or 3 children that told us how to truly get through the portal. The other person didn't tell us how to truly get through the portal. He just led us there, and we stooped down waiting for the portal to open it, but it didn't. The children said you gotta wait for balloons. This matter or balloon, it looked like almost, and it would actually fall from the sky or fall from the atmosphere. And it was 3 balloons, and they said you got to wait for them to inflate all the way, and when they inflate all the way, then you burst them, and then you are able to get out of hell and go back to earth. And so the children knew where the portals were, and they said that they would only come once a day. In certain times, there was another, and when I didn't burst it properly, I didn't burst it right. some type of liquid came out of it because they would blow up and then they get all the way really small, but you got to burst it just at the right time. And it got so small to where it was just about that tiny, and then it was just a little bit of liquid. And I think we drank the liquid or whatever. But and I was like, is there going to be? I remember asking, is there going to be another portal? And they said yes. And this portal was going to let us out in another country though. So if I would have went through that portal, I would have ended up in another country. And then I was like, well, in order for me to get back to the United States, I would have to say we were kidnapped. That's how we ended up in another country, because people, they were like, how are you just all of a sudden end up in another country and you were in Florida, whatever. And I knew in the dream that if we went through that particular portal, that I would have to make an excuse and say we were kidnapped. That's why we are in another country. But we didn't go through that portal. So there's portals there, and the children knew how to get in and out. And I was like, this is me, not the dream, but this is just my mind. As I was meditating on the dream, I was thinking, what if that's the little black-eyed children people are seeing, that are just showing up and appearing, reappearing, and disappearing? What if that's the little black-eyed children? Because they knew how to get out of the portals. But so this portion of hell was children, young and teenagers. It appeared young adults and teenagers, and it wasn't on fire, but it was just a horrible, desolate, dry place. And they were starving, and there was no nurturing, no nourishment or nothing. And it was the houses were ugly, and it seemed like maybe I saw stacks of food, but once they ate it, they understood that that would be the last thing that they would eat throughout all of eternity. They will never have another meal. And so I believe that that might be for the people, the new people that arrive. That's how they're introduced to this section of hell. That's also a part of the torment. Maybe this is not the dream. This is me trying to interpret the dream right now, you guys. That may be that when they initially get the food, and then they know when they're just in that area, they were just staring at the food, and they understood that if they ate that, that would be the last thing that they would ever eat, that they would never have anything else to eat ever again throughout all eternity. And but this part of hell was not on fire, and I knew it was hell because we were talking. The young boy was telling me about that crater that was off into the distance. He was like, "Oh, that's the United States," and when the crater would shift, it would be another country. And so I don't know if there's something big that's going to happen in the United States, that hell is making room for the United States, or maybe, I don't know. But this is the dream. I'm going to pray. I did this video to remember the dream, so I won't forget it, because I didn't want to write it down. So this is the dream. I'm doing this to remember it, but I'm going to pray and ask the Holy Spirit for interpretation, and I'm going to do another video, God willing.